Sorry if you love this book, but it was not for me. The beauty of an opinion. It was a waste of time. It should have just been an essay. Hi, this is Pragmastery. Welcome, siblings. This is going to be all of the books I rated below 2 stars or did not give a rating to in 2022. The first book that I gave 2 stars in 2022 is Paper Girls Volume 1. I did not like the other series that this author did, so I'm not surprised that I didn't like this one. I did not realize who the author was when I picked up this graphic novel. I just knew it was very highly rated and a lot of people loved it, so I was really sad that I didn't like it, but I wasn't surprised once I realized who the author was. It's just not for me, but I think a lot of people could like it. I just feel like the world wasn't super fleshed out is why I gave it 2 instead of 3. Wasn't for me, and I didn't feel like the world was that well actualized. Next, I gave The Way the World Ends by Jess Walter a 2 out of 5 stars. This is part of an Amazon series, the Warmer series. I did not like this book at all. It felt pointless. I was left feeling like I wasted my time, and this is supposed to be a conversation about global warming, and instead it was more just a giant internal monologue for the main character that was the author's thoughts and opinions on global warming. There was no story or anything to move me. There was no storytelling. It was just an inner monologue. It should have just been an essay. Jess Walter should have just wrote an essay about their thoughts and opinions on global warming. It was a waste of time. My next 2-star read was The Maiden Ship by Michelin Reichman. This was really disappointing because these books are beautiful and I bought special editions of them, but I was very mistaken. This is a sea fantasy adventure with magic and all of that jazz, but I thought it followed the female on the front cover of the original printing. It does not. It follows the male character and it's very sexist, and I just found his narration to be weak and I found the writing to be really bad. It was not very good, not very refined. I had to keep rereading sentences because they were written really bad and none of it made any sense. And the main character's actions didn't make any sense, and the story was really predictable, and I got really bored, which is really sad because I have the second book and they're matching beautiful editions. And I was wondering how this even got published because it's that bad. I was like, who published this? The author owns the publishing company, so this makes more sense to me now. I'm gonna keep them because the covers are really beautiful, but it did not wow me at all. I can see how someone might like this, but objectively, I do not think this is the highest quality of literature. Next is The Witches, the graphic novel. I never read the original story, nor did I see the plays or anything like that. I knew nothing about these Roald Dahl stories, but I picked up the graphic novel because it was a quick read and it fulfilled a prompt for the Aurelium Readathon, and I really did not like it. I would have, had they adapted the original story when they put it in graphic novel form. If they had modernized it, I would have liked it a lot more, but they didn't. It was very sexist, it was very strange, and there was very weird things going on that just felt unnecessary, and they took things out of the original book that were important to the plot and the characters, but left things that were problematic in the graphic novel. So overall, was not thrilled with this, and I would not let my child read it, and I think it was dumb. So sorry if you love this book, but it was not for me. The last 2-star read I had is The Bean Cookbook by Tammy Hardiman. I did not really love these recipes. I love beans. I eat a lot of beans. I'm mostly vegetarian, and so I'm always looking for more bean recipes, but I did not find myself wanting to look back at any of the recipes, and I just found myself feeling really disappointed. It just seemed like a lot of recipes where beans were added randomly. So yeah, if you're into beans and you don't have any recipes that are pretty simple, this might work for you, but based on the way that I cook, this book was not very useful. On to 1-star reads. These are books that I actively disliked, so get ready. I'm sorry if any of these are your favorites. I can like a book and not like a book versus you having the opposite opinion. It's the beauty of an opinion. I'm very sorry if you liked these, but I am also very happy for you that you did. The first 1-star read I had was Boca Raton by Lauren Groff. I thought this was absolutely outrageous and silly and stupid. This is the same series as The Way the World Ends, and I had the same problem with it. It was just a lot of, should have been an essay. It should have been, you know, a personal essay from the author talking about their opinion on global warming, not using a character to do that. Also, the crazy woman spiral to insanity plotline is really old and stupid, and I really did not like the anxiety I was given by the mother not being a great mother to her child. I understand mental health exists, but, you know, there are things you can do to try to give your child a really good life, and this book really just left me with horrible, icky feelings. So 1 star. It didn't have a conversation about global warming at all. It was very short and it's very boring, and I felt that it just left me feeling gross. A Murder of Manatees by Larry Correa. I hated this, and I only read 1 chapter. I DNF'd it. This was bad. And I thought it was a children's murder mystery, A Murder of Manatees. I thought it was like a fun, quirky thing. It is not. It is an adult book, but it was horrible. It was so sexist, and from the beginning you could tell it was written by an old white man who's Republican, who thinks he's so funny and he's really not. And I did not need to see a manatee acting like a stripper within the first few chapters. I do not recommend. That's what I will say. If you are conservative, if you like sexist things and Republican humor, you may love this. Good for you. Not for me. The next book I DNF'd is These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. I gave this 1 star because within the first few chapters, a witch girl is gatekeeping and making fun of someone who would like to get into witchcraft. I think that's really, I do not think that is nice, and that is very much against my own beliefs in witchcraft and any kind of craft. We do not gatekeep here, so I am very much against the way that this main character was behaving and thinking, and even if it changes by the end of the book, I couldn't read it without feeling sick to my stomach, so I stopped reading it. I am not a fan. Additionally, please learn the difference between Wiccan, witch, pagan, all of that, because they are not the same thing. Thanks, siblings. Bye. The next book I gave 1 star to was Chainsaw Man Volume 1, which is really devastating since I thought I was going to absolutely love this manga. I hated it, and I hated it a lot. The way it's advertised, with the adventure of a demon chainsaw man, that's fascinating to me, and I was very intrigued, but it was horribly done. There is 0 personality in the main character. The main character's only personality trait and motivation for the things he does is to touch some jugs. That's enough said. Nothing, literally nothing else goes through that teenager's mind. And it's not accurate, it's stupid, and I hate it. So I gave it 1 star. The next book is the last book that I read in 2022, unfortunately. It is Below Zero by Ali Hazelwood. This is horrible. I talk about it in my December wrap-up. But essentially, it's supposed to be a novella about a NASA researcher who gets stranded in Antarctica with a man, a beefcake of a man, and of course she's small and he's huge, and yeah, that part doesn't actually bother me very much. It was just really boring, and it was really contradictory. She was saying that she's smart, but she wasn't, and then she would say things that were just scientifically incorrect or scientifically obvious. It was very tell, not show, and it was really boring, and it wasn't even good enough for me to continue to get to the smut. I didn't even skip to the smut, and it was only like 90 pages, and I couldn't get past the first few chapters. So that should say a lot. I usually skip to the smut if I'm not enjoying a book, and then I'm like, well, at least I got something out of it. I couldn't do that. That's how bad this was. Don't read it. On to the books that I did not rate for some reason, or I DNF'd, or both. I DNF'd Light from Uncommon Stars by Raika Yoki early in the year. Probably one of the first books I read. I think it was the first book I read. I did not like this. I got this with a friend. We exchanged Christmas gifts. It was very fun. My friend in Germany, and we were gonna read them together, and we started reading this, and it just ended up not working out because this book is interesting. It has very important conversations, and it was pretty well written. It's very quirky. It was akin to Good Omens, apparently, but I don't see it. The Good Omens part of this is maybe a little bit of the donut shop owner, but ultimately it does not have the same vibe. It does not have the same uplifting quirkiness. This was trauma. This is horrible. It was very hard to read. If you are a person who struggles with your queer identity, I do not recommend this. It was heartbreaking, and it seems like it went too heavy-handed into the trauma of queer people. There were plots in this that I thought were really interesting. I got a good 30% of the way through before I had to put it down. It was just too negative. It was just too hard to read because it was really hard to watch this main character suffer so much. Please read every content warning for this before you read this book, especially if you are a queer person. I could see you feeling very seen by this, which is why I did not give it a rating. I am not an Own Voices review for this, so I did not rate it because I did not feel in a place that I could rate this. I did not finish it, and I am not the target audience. The next book I read, I DNF'd and did not rate it because I didn't read enough of it, and that is Read Between the Lines by Rachel Lacey. This is an adult romance that I got on Kindle. And it was okay. It was really boring, and it wasn't very well written, and the writing was really bad. I think the grammar was just not great, and the reading pace was... I just was bored after a few chapters, and I didn't care, and I thought it was really predictable, and I just didn't think it was cute enough to keep me going. So I didn't finish it. And that's okay. Sorry to the person I buddy read that with. My bad. Did not like. Next was a webcomic called #muted. It was very cute, very fun. I didn't want to rate it though because that felt weird. It's a webcomic and like it's ongoing, but it was very cute, very fun, and I enjoyed it. Next, I DNF'd All the Tides of Fate by Adeline Grace about halfway through. I loved the first book by Adeline Grace, so I was really hoping to love this one, but there was just something about the main character that was infuriating me, and at this point, it was so long ago, I can't really remember why I DNF'd it. I just remember being not happy with it, which is a good thing because I'm gonna come back to this. I didn't rate it or anything because this isn't a forever DNF. I just put it down because I wasn't feeling it. I'm gonna come back to it though. I think I'm gonna like this. I just needed to approach it at the right time. I forced myself 50% of the way through, and I shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna reread this at some point and finish it out. Next, I read Ballad of the Blue-Banded Bee. This was a beta read. This book is not really announced or like, you know, getting published anytime soon, but it's by a friend of a friend, and he asked me to read it. And I didn't rate it because that's not fair. It's a beta read. I enjoyed the experience of reading this book and getting to like talk and video chat with the author who's not from the United States and really learn a lot and do some, you know, writing fun nerdiness. It was a lot of fun to beta read this book. Last book I DNF'd is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, which is part of the His Dark Materials series. I know people really love this series a lot, and there's a TV show. I didn't grow up with this series. I never saw the movie. I never read the books, but my partner wanted me to read the book and tell him if it was good, and then we could watch the movie because he loved the movie growing up. But I couldn't get through the first few chapters because of the sexism built into the world. So it wasn't like there was a sexist moment, but it was that the way that the society functioned was really frustrating. And I understand that it might be part of the plot that the main character is gonna like change that or something, but it was really painful and really difficult for me to read about a little girl experiencing this, you know, sexism-based society, and it was just not for me. I didn't like the writing. I could tell it was written by a white guy. It just felt really close-minded to me for some reason. And I've heard really bad things about the companion series that was written after this for like adults, I believe. So, you know, I can just acknowledge that I missed out on this as a kid and move on, I think. I don't need this in my life. If this is your favorite, I'm very happy for you, but I'm good. And those were all the books that I gave 2 stars, 1 stars, or no rating to, and books that I DNF'd. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the other videos in this series. I hope you're having a wonderful 2023, and I'll see you in the next one, siblings.